So in this lesson, there are actually 7 learning outcomes. First is to define 21st century education. Second, describe the 21st century teachers and the needed information tools for learning. 3. Examine the critical attributes of 21st century education. 4. Explain how 21st century education concepts can be integrated in the classroom. 5. Draw relevant life lessons and significant values from the experience in practicing 21st century education. 6. Analyze research abstract on 21st century education and its implication on teaching and learning process. And the last one is to prepare an evaluation instrument intended for 21st century learning or teaching learning. Now, in a modern society, it is ushered by a dramatic technological revolution. Okay, it is an increasingly diverse, globalized, and complex media saturated. And according to this person or Dr. Douglas Kellner, this technological revolution bears a greater impact on society than a transition from oral to print. So education prepares for students for life in this world. And amidst emerging social issues and concerns, there is a need to communicate, function, and to create change personally, socially, and economically and politically at the local, national, and global levels by participating in real life and real world service learning projects. So we really need to cope up with these changes. Okay? And please to remember that the only permanent thing in this world is change. Okay? So we have to cope up kung ano yung mga trends kailangan nating matutunan. Okay? Para at least if we are as a teacher, could determine what are those new technology that can fit to the ability of our learners. Okay? And it could also bring the class into more interactive. So emerging the technologies and resulting globalization also provide unlimited possibilities for exciting discoveries and development. Now in here, we will discuss, or I'm going to discuss to you the 21st century education context, which includes the 21st century school. So it is described that the school in the 21st century focused on a project-based curriculum for life that would engage students in addressing real-world problems and humanity concerns and issues. Okay? So what are those concerns? What are those issues that, of course, hindi pwede na wala tayong pakialam. Okay? This has become an innovation in educations from this textbook-driven, the teacher-centered, paper and pencil schooling into a better understanding of the concept of knowledge and a new definition of educated person. Okay, so somewhat a new definition of an educated person here has knowledge or aware of what is happening in the world, in the real world scenario. Okay, and can able to cope up with these changes. Okay. So therefore, it makes a way or a new way of designing and delivering the curriculum. So for instance, the schools will go from buildings to nerve centers with open walls and are roofless while connecting teachers, students, and the community to the breadth of knowledge in the world. So those are changes na kailangan nating ma-cope up din. The teacher will transform the role from being dispenser of information, kumbaga information giver. Kasi kung teacher-centered, usually, nagiging information giver lang ang teacher. And then, whereas the learners will act as a passive receiver or passive listener. So, there is no way, there is no interactions that may occur pag ganun yung scenario. So, yun yung dati na somewhat embedded in the curriculum. Dati na mga strategies that are embedded in the curriculum. But nowadays, since there's a lot of sophisticated technology that can be utilized in the teaching learning process, so nagkakaroon na ngayon ng changes. Nagkakaroon na ngayon ng transition from old to new, in which ito yung mafi-fit dito sa current na scenario. Okay? Therefore, the 21st century will require knowledge generation, not just information delivery, and schools will need to create this what we call culture of inquiry. So what is meant by culture of inquiry? So when we say culture of inquiry, it is a set of conditions that exists within the school in which the focus of teaching for students and adults is around answering important and compelling questions. Okay? Yan yung sa culture of inquiry from the inquire. Okay? So you are asking. So learners will become adaptive to change, and in the past, learners spent a required amount of time in respective courses, received passive grades, and graduated. So today, learners are viewed in the new context. Kaya nga tinatawag na rin silang digital immigrant. And these changes have implications for teachers. So there are 4 implications of changes of the 21st century for teachers. 1. Teacher must discover new students' interests by helping them see what and how they are learning to prepare them for life in the real world. So this is the reason why the teacher may use differentiated instructions para makita niya kung alin ba dito yung strategies na pwedeng maka-boost or maka-trigger doon sa skills ng bata. So, nagiging ina-apply niyo yung mga differentiated instructions kasi in that matter, nagiging creative yung bata at ina-apply niya kung ano yung kanyang skills talaga. Okay? Number 2, they must instill curiosity, which is fundamental to lifelong learning. Of course, this is really important. Curiosity that is somewhat act of knowing. You are interested. You have the desire to know what is the principles behind that context or what is really happening. Okay? They must be flexible in how they teach. When we say flexible, dapat magiging skillful ka. You are not only using one strategy in teaching. You are not only using one technological tools. Marami kang pwedeng gamitin. At the same time, ikaw na teacher, hindi ka lang magaling sa isang skill. Okay? Kaya nga flexible ka. Kumbaga, to make it short, kung sa specific example, flexible ka, if, shall we say, you can dance while singing. You know how to dance and you know how to sing. So that is flexible. You are good in writing, at the same time, you are also good in communicating. Okay? 4. They must excite learners to become more resourceful so that they will continue to learning outside formal education. So, dati, nung face-to-face pa, yan yung example ng formal education. Okay? Most likely, ang nangyayari before, if the teacher will give some activity to the students so that the students will just research some information, retrieve or access information from the book, okay, from the textbook only. But today, using the technology or with the introduction of this technology, papasok na dito ngayon yung the students can retrieve or access information not only on the textbook but also varieties of media. Okay, they can get information from the listening to the radio, watching TV, or researching information through the use of internet or through the use of internet. Okay, so ito yung parang impact na kailangan sa teacher, i-encourage niya yung bata na magiging more resourceful, hindi lang isang sources yung kanyang pagkukunan ng information, but variety of media or variety of resources. In the 21st century, in addition, learning is not confined through memorizations of facts. Ito kasi yung dating curriculum natin. Kung usually sa teacher-centered, nagkakaroon tayo ng rote learning or repetition of learning where it requires students to memorize. Pero actually, hindi naman din, in my experience, hindi naman din ganun kasama yung rote learning or encourage us to memorize. Kasi di ba pag memorize mo yung isang concepts, hindi nawawala sa mind mo. Pero sa new curriculum, hindi naman ini-encourage na memorization lang, but also you have to understand the concept. So it is not necessarily that you have to memorize the context, but you have to understand the concept. Okay? So, it is connected to um, yung mga new learning information na nare-receive mo or na-acquire mo is hinahanapan mo ngayon ng connection doon sa previous learning. Hence, in here, somewhat the or an ideal learning environment has a plenty of wall space and other areas for displaying works that includes ito. Isa sa, kumbaga, additional na description ng sensory learning environment is yung ideal learning environment has plenty of wall space and other areas for displaying students' work. Kung sa another term pa, parang conducive learning. Malaki yung space kung saan pwede nilang ma-paste yung mga activity nila, yung mga project nila, outputs. At the same time, a place where the parents and community can gather to watch students' performance. Okay? We have also here the technology in the 21st century pedagogy. So when we say pedagogy, that is the art of teaching. Now, technologies are not ends in themselves, but these are tools for students to use to create knowledge for personal and social change. So in the 21st century learning, it recognizes full access to technology. So there are better bandwidth of this Wi-Fi access. It should be available along areas of schools for the students to access their files and supplement their learning inside the classroom. So, in our school, actually, nakaka-access na tayo ng internet. There are some students din na nakaka-access ng internet connection where they can access information or they can retrieve information, they can download materials from the teachers, and they can also upload files for their activity. Okay? And various laboratories and learning centers are set up in such a way that they allow space needed for students, simulations, and manipulative work. So, kailangan marami yung laboratories. May speech lab, for chem lab, mayroon din laboratory for PE, ayan. All classrooms should have televisions. So, in our school, so far, hindi pa naman, or actually, wala pang televisions, kung sa college, wala pang television yung bawat classroom. In DepEd, marami na. Okay? So, most commonly, ang ginagamit ng mga teachers in college nung may face-to-face pa is this what we call the LCD. Okay? So, pinoproject lang sa board yung lessons through PowerPoint. Okay? Aside from that, of course, sa other schools, itong television na ito is for the purpose of watching a broadcast created by the schools and other schools around. So, other resources in the schools can be utilized by students in creating opportunities for their knowledge exploration. So, we have also here the 21st century skills outcomes and demands on the or in the job market. So it says the 21st century skills are a set of abilities that students need to develop to succeed in the information age. So the partnership for 21st century skills include 1. Literacy skills, in which this literacy or learning skills rather, these learning skills comprise critical thinking and creative. So pag sinasabi nating critical thinking, kumbaga, you are thinking logically, okay, doon sa information. Ang creative naman, nag-generate ka ngayon ng information, okay, ng useful information. Collaborating and communicating. Number 2 is literacy skills. In the literacy skills, it is composed of information literacy, media literacy, and technology literacy. Dito sa mga information literacy, ito yung mga platform where we can access information. Okay? sa mga internet. Ang mga media literacy naman, o ano yung mga media literacy? Your social media, as well as yung mga television. Ayan, technology, what are those technology that can utilize or technology tools na ina-apply doon sa or ginagamit ng teacher. And then we have also number 3, the life skills, which includes flexibility, initiative, social skills, productivity, and even leadership. So these skills have always been important in an information-based economy. Okay? So I have here a presentation of these 21st century skills. So when we say information-based economy, it talks about the technological advance, integrated video with audio and data transmission, hypertext, mobile communications, cost down, power up, and must have technological and scientific literacies for job success in the 21st century. Okay? So likewise, skills demanded in the job market includes knowing a trade, following directions, getting along with others, working hard, and being professional, efficient, prompt, honest, and fair. So more so adapt to these jobs in this information age, students need to think deeply about issues, solve problems creatively, work in teams, communicate clearly in many media, learn ever-changing technology. According to Partnership for 21st Century, various industries look for employees who can think critically, solve problems, creative, innovative, collaborate, and communicate. Kaya, kahit nasa students ka pa, kailangan ma-learn mo na yung mga skills na ganun kasi in the near future, pag mag-a-apply ka, yun yung mga skills na maaaring hanapin sa'yo. Okay? Next concept is the 21st century implication or learning implication. Now, in the 21st, skills are viewed relevant to all academic areas, and skills may be taught in wide variety of both in campus and community settings. So teachers should practice teaching cross-disciplinary skills, okay, in related courses such as integrating research methods in various disciplines. So, kaya nga halimbawa, our courses is all about this curriculum or all about child and adolescents. And then, kino-cross-disciplinary ng teacher ngayon yung research doon. Kasi, all of the informations na natututunan natin is actually or are actually also a result of a research. So, through conducting a research activity for the student, na kumbaga na-enhance ngayon yung skills nila in doing research, okay? To think critically and to generate new ideas. So there aside from that various discipline, articulating technical scientific concepts in both verbal verbal, written, and graphic forms, presenting laboratory reports to a pool of specialists, or a use of emerging technologies, software and programs, and multimedia application as an extension of an assigned project. Okay. Likewise, in today's world, informations and knowledge are actually continuously increasing at a certain rate that no one can learn everything about every subject. So, what may appear true today could be proven to be false tomorrow. Kasi nga may changes eh. There is no constant. Okay? And the jobs that students will get after they graduate may not yet exist. Hindi naman kasi pagkatapos mong gumraduate, as a teacher is teacher ka na, okay? Case-to-case basis. For this reason, students need to be taught how to process, analyze, and use information, and they need adaptable skills that can apply in all facets of life. When we say facet, in all stages of life. We have also to learn to accept kung ano yung mangyayari in the near future, okay? Kasi sometimes, minsan, hindi nangyayari kung ano yung ine-expect natin. So, too much expectation can hurt us. lalo na kung hindi natin na-achieve yun. Thus, merely teaching them ideas and facts without teaching them how to use them in real-life setting is no longer enough. Kaya nga, meron tayong Prof. Ed na tinatawag kasi tinuturo din dito kung paano mo i-handle yung scenario sa classroom mo in which ma-apply mo siya sa sarili mo. Okay? So, school needs to adapt and develop a new ways of teaching and learning that reflect a changing world because there is no constant. So, the purpose of school should be to prepare students for success after graduations, and therefore, the greatest demands such as those deemed to be most important by college professors and employers. So, hence, teaching students to perform well in schools or to pass the test alone is no longer sufficient. Okay? Ang kailangan, kumbaga it is not enough you as a teacher na tinuturo mo lang, hindi enough na yung mga bata is nagiging, halimbawa, bright siya dito na subject, na perform siya better on this subject, and then makakapasa siya sa exam. Hindi yun enough. Kasi kailangan ituturo mo sa bata kung paano niya isosolve yung problems niya in real life situation, in real life scenario. Okay? Now, there is a paradigm shift for 21st century education. Okay, so this image is taken from the slideshare.net. So, these pictures here presented as before 21st century education. Ito naman is, on this side, on the right side, is the 21st century environment or after. Or nung inintroduce na ang 21st century. So, traditional versus 21st century environment. So, nakita nyo naman ang difference niya. Sa arrangement pa lang ng upuan, setting, ito, dito sa traditional natin, most likely teacher-centered. Okay? Ito, student-centered. So, to differentiate the traditional and the 21st century education, okay, for the traditional or before the 21st century education, ang usually binibigyan ng attention sa traditional is time-based. Parang mahalaga yung oras talaga. Kailangan na ito na schedule, ito na oras, kailangan ma-cope up mo, makakasubmit ka. Pagdating dito sa 21st century, outcome-based. Okay? Ano yung output? Kumbaga, pag dito sa traditional, it is more of with the quantity, kung halimbawa, quantity versus quality ang pinag-uusapan. Whereas, dito sa 21st century, quality or output, okay? Outcome-based. And the traditional, it focused on memorizing or memorization of discrete facts. Okay. So, yun yung binibigyan ng attention dito. Kahit hindi mo naiintindihan, basta memorize mo, okay lang. That is on a traditional. Whereas in the 21st century, it focused on what the students know, what can do, and are like after all the details are forgotten. So, kung nakalimutan niya, kailangan or dito sa 21st century, though hindi mo siya memorize, but as long as naintindihan mo siya at na-apply mo siya, yun ang pinaka-importante. In the traditional, lower order thinking skills in Bloom's taxonomy, such as knowledge and comprehension, whereas in the 21st century, higher order thinking skills, or this is what we call metacognition. So, in the Bloom's taxonomy, it involves applications, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Okay? In the traditional, it is textbook driven. So, merely the source of information is only textbook. What is written on the textbook? Yun lang. Whereas in the 21st century education, research driven. So, you as a learners have you are free to research informations coming from different variety of resources. In the traditional learning, the learners here are passive. Okay, passive learning. in which kung ano yung tinuturo ng teacher, yun lang din yun sa kanila. And there is no interaction that takes place. Whereas in 21st, in active learning, okay? Maraming mga strategies and technologies na ina-apply. In the traditional, learners work in isolations and confined in the classroom. So, nandun lang sa four corners of the classroom. Lahat ng teaching learning process na sa four corners of classroom. Whereas in 21st century learners work collaboratively with classmates and others around the world. So they can work collaboratively not only in their classmates but also other people around the world. Of course, with the help of technology. In traditional, it is teacher-centered. So when we say teacher-centered, teacher is dispenser of knowledge, information, and attention. In here, somewhat the teachers is just an information giver. Okay? And one-way communication. An information papunta doon sa teacher. Whereas in the 21st century, teachers is actually a facilitator, coach of a student's learning. Dito naman, maraming activities, maraming strategies ang ina-apply ng teacher kasi yung learners na ngayon ang bahala mag-explore, magdi-discover ng information with the help of the teacher. Not the same as the traditional na that information is directly given to the students and that information is coming from the teachers. Hindi ganon. In the traditional, there is a little to no students' freedom, whereas in the 21st, great deals of students' freedom. That is why there are some instances where the teacher will just give you a topic and then bahala na kayo kung paano nyo ipipresent. So, lumalabas yung pagiging creative ng bata dito. In the traditional, discipline problems or no trust between educators and students or little students' motivation. Hindi masyadong namomotivate yung bata. There is no eagerness to learn. So, may problema sa pagdidisiplina. Whereas, in the 21st century education, no discipline problems because in here, the students and teachers have mutual respect and relationship as co-learners. Kasi nga, two-way process. So, kumbaga sa teacher, the students can learn from teachers and the same as the teacher, they can also learn from the students. Okay? High students' motivation dito sa 21st century. In the traditional, fragmented curriculum. When we say fragmented, parang broken siya ba? Okay? Whereas in 21st century, integrated and interdisciplinary curriculum. So, maraming discipline at saka ini-integrate yung curriculum dito with technologies and other aspects. In the traditional, grades taken from formal assessment measures entered in the class record for reporting purposes. Whereas dito sa 21st, grades are based on students' performance as evidence of learning outcomes. So dati, ang basis lang ng pag-assess sa bata is kung ano yung result ng class record niya, kung ano yung result ng exams, kung ano yung result ng quizzes, yun lang. In the 21st century, ano yung output ng bata galing sa kanyang performance. Okay? To continue, in the traditional, assessment is for making purposes and placed as a part of lessons plan structures. Okay? Naging part lang siya. Okay? In the 21st century education, assessment is important aspect of instructions to gauge learning outcomes. Doon kasi sa traditional, halimbawa, may bumagsak na mga bata mo. So, wala ka nang pake. Paglagay natin, bumagsak silang lahat sa quizzes na yon, wala ka nang pake. Okay? Kasi nakuha mo na yung record eh. Pagdating dito sa 21st century, pina-found out mo ngayon kung aling aspect ka ba, probably may problem. Would it be the objectives or the strategies of the lesson, your strategy, the tools, that you apply the teaching learning process does not met or did not help in attaining the objectives of your lesson, kaya bumagsak. And ngayon, hahanapan mo ng other ways para mas matutunan pa ng bata. Yun yung sa 21st century education. In traditional, low expectations. So, what students receive is what they get. Parang may connection yan siya dito sa nauna kong sinabi. Whereas, in the 21st century, high expectations that students succeed in learning to high extent. In the 21st century, in the traditional rather, the teacher is judged and no one else sees students' work outputs are assessed using the structured metrics. Whereas, in the 21st century, pwede na yung result ng result ng performance ng bata, yung result ng kanyang rating is coming from himself, peers, and other services as evaluators of students learning using wide range of metrics and authentic assessment. So, papasok na dito yung mga rubrics, okay? Mga scale in rating. In the traditional, curriculum is irrelevant and meaningless to the students, okay? Whereas in the 21st century, curriculum is connected to students' interests, experiences, tablets, and the real world. Okay? Parang nagiging accessories lang ang curriculum before. Pero ngayon, ini-embed na dyan, nilalagay na sa curriculum kung ano yung possible na interest ng mga bata, ano yung strategies na i-apply mo para makaboast ng interest ng mga bata. In the traditional, print is the primary vehicles of learning and assessment. Whereas in 21st century education, performances, projects, and multiple forms of media are used for learning and assessment. To continue, in traditional, students' diversity is ignored. So the teacher will just use one strategy for the whole period of grade or for the whole period of semester. Kasi wala siyang paki eh. So halimbawa, trip niya na pakantahin ng mga bata kahit alam niyang singer yon, wala siyang paki. Okay? Kasi nga, hindi kinukonsidered ang individual differences. Whereas, in the 21st century, curriculum and instructions address students' diversity. Binibigyan pansin yung individual difference dito. In the traditional, students just follow orders and instructions while listening to the teacher's lecture. Whereas, in the 21st century, students are empowered to lead and initiate while creating solutions and solving problems. Okay? Kaya nga, kumbaga may freedom sila to create solutions and to solve problems. In the traditional, literacy is the 3 R's in reading, writing, and arithmetic. Whereas in the 21st century education, multiple literacies of the 21st century align to living and working in a globalized new society. So, not only focus on the 3 R's, pero multiple literacies. Okay? And the last one, on the traditional, factory model is based upon the needs of employers for the industrial age of the 19th century. But in the 21st century, global model based upon the needs of globalized high-tech society. So that's the difference between this traditional and the 21st century education. So in this paradigm shift from the 20th to 21st century shows that the structures and modalities of education have evolved, di ba? May transition, may changes na nangyari. So, students become the center of teaching learning process kasi nga student-centered na tayo, hindi na siya teacher-centered. Using wide array of technological tools, ano yung mga technological platforms to assess them in exploring knowledge and information needed in surviving the test of time and preparing for future career endeavors. So, assessment has been made varied to address multiple literacy development in diverse contexts. Nakakatulong yung assessment para malaman mo kung ano yung intelligence ng bata. teachers turn to become facilitator, okay, rather than lecturers. So, dispense of information. So, nagiging dito facilitator, nagiging mentor lang yung teachers. Kasi, hindi lahat ng information binibigay ng teacher. Okay? There's still some information where the students are required to explore, okay, to access information, to retrieve or to generate new ideas. So as such, this curriculum is designed in a way that it connects to real life or the life into the real world. So interconnected with other disciplines and reshapes the students' holistic perspective. Now, the critical attributes of the 21st century education. So, education actually continuously change dramatically throughout time. Okay? Kasi nga, change is the only permanent thing in this world. Again, there is a paradigm shift in the way teaching and learning is delivered. So therefore, the 21st century teachers needs to develop essential knowledge, skills, and values in order to cope with these changes and addressing students' needs. So ito yung mga critical attribute, global classrooms or mga K-concept on the critical attributes of 21st century education. K-concepts, 21st century skills, relevant and rigorous and real world, creating, adapting to constant personal and social change and lifelong learning, project-based and research-driven, student-centeredness and technologies and multimedia. And the last one is integrated and interdisciplinary. Parang ito yung mga K-concept from what I have discussed to you about 21st century education. So the following are 8 attributes of the 21st century educations and their implications. 1. Integrated and interdisciplinary. So, education in the 21st century is characterized by interfacing various disciplines in an integrated manner rather than compartmentalizing its subsequent parts. So, these critical attributes implies that there is a need to review the curriculum and create strategies infusing different subjects towards enhancing the learning experience of a student. So, ito yung kanya implication. Kailangan nagkakaroon ng interdisciplinary yung mga subjects. So, i-integrate mo yung math doon sa science. Ayan. Integrate mo yung science doon sa language. So, those are what we call integrated or interdisciplinary. Number 2, technologies and multimedia. Education in the 21st century makes optimum use of available information and communication technology, or what we call ICT, as well as multimedia to improve the teaching and learning process, including online applications and technology platforms. So, it implies that a need to acquire and use computers and multimedia equipment and the design of technology plan to enhance learning at its best. Okay? Please do remember, though no matter how great is that technology, pero hindi lahat ng technology na ginagamit mo is best para doon sa isang lessons. Okay? So we have to acquire the use of this technology. Number 3, global classroom. So, what's meant by global classroom? Education in the 21st century aims to produce global citizens by exposing students to the issues and concerns in the local, nationals, and global societies. Hindi kasi pwede na ikaw na students, wala kang pakialam, you don't care of what is happening not only in the local, national, but also global societies. Kailangan magbibigay ka ng thoughts or ideas of what is happening. And you can also give some solutions. Okay? Yung voice kasi ng mga students are also important. So, it implies that the need to include current global issues and concerns such as ito yung peace, and respect for cultural diversity. Okay? So, magkakaiba kasi tayo ng culture. So, pinaka-importante ito. Climate change and global warming in a classroom discussion. So, hindi pwede na wala tayong gagawin. Halimbawa, kaya nga, may G2 tayo na tinatawag, yung pagsisegregate ng mga basura natin. So, isa yun siya na parang ways natin para makatulong tayo dito sa climate change or global warming. Okay? Dito naman sa cultural diversity, kailangan maintindihan natin na yung culture ng ibang tao or culture ng classmate natin is different to us. So, we have to learn and understand. And we have also to give respect. Number 4, creating, adapting to constant personal and social change and lifelong learning. Now, education subscribes to believe that learning does not end within the four walls of the classroom. Okay? Hindi lang mag-e-end sa 4 na walls ng classroom. It can take place anywhere, anytime, regardless of age. So, with the use of this technology, may tinatawag tayo na, yun nga, anytime, anywhere learning. Kasi kahit na, halimbawa, ngayon, nasa mga bahay tayo, pero nakaka-learn tayo. Hindi rin masasabi na yung mga 21st century learners lang, yung mga teens lang ngayon ang nakaka-learn. Kasi kahit na mga old age na, or kahit mga nasa toddler pa, nasa primary school pa lang, nakaka-learn na rin yan sila. So, with the help of technology, kahit na nasa CR ka, pwede kang maka-learn. Kahit na kumakain ka, pwede kang maka-learn. Kaya nga, anywhere, anytime, learning. So, this means that the teacher should facilitate students' learning even beyond academics. And therefore, it should not end with requirements, compliance, and passing the exam. Ito kasi yung dati, yung pag maka-comply ka, makapass ka ng exam, but also transferring and applying knowledge to a new context of real-life situation. Ito kasi yung main context, yung adapting the change. Okay? Kasi tinuturuan kayo kung paano ninyo isosolve yung sariling problem ninyo pag nasa real-life situation na. So, as such, the curriculum should be planned in such a way that students continue to learn even outside the school for life. So, ito na yung ina-apply natin ngayon na situation. Since we cannot have this face-to-face. So, tinuturuan kayo ngayon na hindi lang kayo natututo on the four corners of the classroom. You can also learn, adapt to change, or cope or access informations with the use of varieties of resources. Number 5, student-centered. So, in the education in the 21st century is focused on students as learners while addressing their needs. Okay? Differentiated instruction is relevant in the 21st century classroom. So, of course, kasi nga, individual differences. So, differentiated instruction, hindi pwede na for the whole period of time, book lang yung gagamitin ko, PowerPoint lang yung gagamitin ko. Okay? To continue, where diversity factors and issues are taken into account and addressed when planning and delivering instruction, including their learning styles, interests, needs, and abilities. Kaya nga, one of the most important thing during the first week of the schools, kung face-to-face man, is you should know first your learners, including their backgrounds, their interests, their ability to learn, their skills, the way they communicate. So, those are the things that you have to consider. Kasi there are some instances na hindi pala suited yung ina-apply mong strategies or may mga nabitawan kang salita ngayon against their culture. Kasi even their cultural background, dapat malaman din ng teacher yan. Those are the things that she has to consider. Okay? Or she or he has to consider. Number 6. 21st century skills. So, education in the 21st century skills or century demonstrates the skills needed in becoming a productive members of society, and beyond learning the basic skills of reading, writing, and numeracy, yung arithmetic, students should also develop life and work skills in 21st century communities, such as critical and creative thinking, problem solving and decision making, and ICT literacy and skills. So it implies that the teacher should possess these skills before their students. Of course, this is really true. A teacher should also first possess those skills before niya i-introduce sa mga bata. Parang you cannot teach kung wala kang ganito, hindi ka makakabigay ng magandang examples kung hindi ka naman naka-experience ng ganun. Okay? So, bago mo i-transfer yung skills na yon doon sa bata, kailangan matutunan mo muna as a teacher para mas nagiging effective. 7. Project-based and research-driven. So, education in the 21st century emphasizes data, information, and evidence-based decision-making through students' activities that encourage active learning. Okay? So, this implies that there is a need for knowledge and skills in research, such as self-directed activities, ito yung mga individual na activities or independent, learning project, investigatory project, capstone. Ang capstone parang, when we say capstone, parang innovation or inventions and other research-based output. Number 8, relevant, rigorous, and real-world. So, education in the 21st century is meaningful as it connects to real-life experience of learners, and it implies that the use of current and relevant information links to real-life situation and context. Kasi this is the purpose of teaching the students. It's because of this is in preparation for you on how to become a teacher or in facing your problems and make a solution to that specific problems. So the characteristic of a 21st century presented here, it says that the 21st century teaching learning environments become more complicated both by technological change. Therefore, teachers should be able to cope with and adapt to these changes. Thus, teachers must be equipped with attributes, knowledge, and skills critical to 21st century education so that they may be able to integrate them in their teaching 21st century teachers. So these are characteristics. One is, of course, multiliterate. So when we say multiliterate, in here the teachers should know how to use various technological in teaching. So, hindi lang PowerPoint yung gagamitin mo or hindi lang ang alam mong gamitin is LCD. Ayan, kailangan multiliterate tayo. We are familiar with the use of variety of technologies in teaching. Multi-specialist. So, in here, when we say multi-specialist, if you're a teacher, you are not only knowledgeable in the core subject, but also somewhat in here, you can also teach other areas so they can help the learners build up what they gain in their classroom and outside the classroom and make sense of what was learned. So, multi-specialist, hindi ka lang magaling sa subject na tinuturo mo. Okay? But of course, other areas na nakakatulong dito sa mga bata to build what they gain or to build up and what they gain in the classroom. Number 3, multi-skilled. So, in a multi-skilled, teachers can cope up with the demand for widening learning opportunities by being skillful, or not just in teaching but also in facilitating and organizing groups and activities. So you're not only skillful in assessing or in assisting your student, but also organizing that groups and activities. We have also here self-directed. So in the self-directed, teachers are responsible for various aspects of school's life and know how to integrate or to initiate actions to realize the learning goals of the students and the educational goals of country at a large. So various school of in here various aspect of school life and know how to initiate actions. Parang naging independent. Next is lifelong learning, number 5. So in here, the teachers can embrace the ideal that learning never ends. Okay? Hanggang sa kahit na 70 years old ka na, that learning never stop. Like, stop lang yan siya kung namatay ka na. Lifelong learning eh. Okay? So, teachers must be constantly updated on the latest information related to their subjects and pedagogic trends. Ano yung trend na, halimbawa, Google Classroom ang trend ngayon na ginagamit as modality ng pag-upload ng mga materials, and Google Meet yung isa sa ginagamit din as modality of virtual discussion. Like mga Zooms, ayan, pwede rin yun. So, dapat alam yun siya ng teacher, okay? Para ma-apply niya rin dito sa mga 21st century learners. They also should also share what they are learning with their students and colleges with a high sense of professionalism. So, you can also share those informations, yung mga alam mo as a teacher. You are not only just sharing that ideas to your student, but pwede rin sa mga kasama mo sa work, pero with high professionalism. Kumbaga, hindi mo pinapalabas na, mas matalino ako sa'yo, kaya ituturo ko ito sa'yo. Hindi ganoon. Okay? 6 is being flexible. So, in the flexible, teachers are able to adapt to various learning styles and needs of the learners. Kailangan maka-cope up siya, okay? They can facilitate learner-centered teaching with flexibility using alternative modes of delivery. So, ngayon, nagiging flexible na ang mga teacher. Kasi dati, face-to-face, ngayon, informal education na, okay? Through the use of technologies. Number 7, creative problem solver. So, when we say creative problem solver, in here, the teacher creates innovative ideas and effective solutions to the artistic problem in their field, and be it in the classroom, in the schools, or even professions as whole. Okay? Being creative problem solver, you can able to generate new ideas, to generate useful ideas to solve problem. We have also here the critical thinker. In the critical thinker, teachers are critical or teachers are critical thinkers as they encourage students to reflect on what they have learned and rekindle in them the desire to ask questions, reach out, probe, and establish their own knowledge and belief. That is why the teacher will always say before the end of the lessons that, do you have questions? Do you understand? Are there any clarification? Or there are some instances where the teacher will clearly ask related to the topic to test whether the students think critically or whether the students understand the lessons or not. Okay? Number 9 is has a passion for excellent teaching. Of course, teachers possess passions in the teaching profession to ensure that students are motivated to learn under their guidance and care. Kahit gaano ka pa katalino, kung wala kang passion doon sa teaching or even the work, hindi ka pa rin magiging masaya at hindi ka nagiging effective ngayon kasi parang wala kang pakialam. Halimbawa, nagtuturo lang ako kasi mataas ang sahod ko dito. Wala akong pakialam sa mga bata, matuto ba sila or hindi. Basta ako, sinasahuran ako. Hindi pwedeng ganun yung papasok sa utak mo. Kailangan, meron kang passion sa teaching mo kasi as long as may passion ka sa teaching, nagkakaroon ka rin ngayon ng care doon sa mga bata at naisip mo rin kung ano yung mga ways na pwedeng makatulong for them in order for them to learn. Okay? Number 10, has high emotional quotient. Okay? Sa teacher. patient is a virtue. Teachers do not just have the head but also the heart to teach. Teaching is emotionally taxing but an influential job as it involves interaction with human beings. So, ikaw na teacher, kailangan mahaba ang pasensya mo at marunong kang mangilatis ng mga tao. At the same time, you know how to handle those kind of people. So there are here, or presented here, are the common 21st century technology tools for learning. Ito yung mga platforms na pwedeng gamitin ng teachers in integrating technologies or platforms sa klase. So as teachers for the 21st century, no one can escape from the reality that we are now in borderless society. Ibig sabihin ng borderless, wala nang, kumbaga, wala nang nakahadlang ba? Okay? Because of this technology, distance is not an excuse para matuto ka or para magkaroon ng collaborative learning. It is therefore important that we should know different technology tools for learning to respond to the needs of 21st century learners and the demands of the times. So the following here are common 21st century educational tools or technology tools. One is affinity groups. So this is an affinity groups. When we say affinity groups, it is a groups of communities that unite individuals with common interests or purpose. It is actually an electronic spaces extends the range of possibility for such groups. So you may visit this if you want to learn more about affinity groups. If you want to experience, you can also search this from the internet. Number 2 is blogs. Okay, when we say blogs, web blogs or blogs are interactive websites often open to the public that can include web links, photographs, and audio, and even video elements. But usually, itong mga blogs, sa mga blogger, hindi yung vlogger ha, blogger, usually they post in the form of text. Okay. Yes, e-portfolio. Okay. So for the e-portfolio, electronic portfolio actually, it refers to the students' work that are generated, selected, organized, stored, and revised digitally. Ito yung example ng portfolio on just a picture. Open electronic portfolios are actually accessible to multiple audiences and can be moved from one site to another easily. And it can document the process of learning, promote integrate thinking, display final work, and or provide a space for reflective learning. So majority kasi dito sa electronic portfolio is for reflective writing. Number 4 is hypertext. In the hypertext, these are electronic text that provides a multiple links and allow users to trace ideas in immediate and idiosyncratic directions. Okay. Hypermedia adds sounds, video, animations, and or virtual reality environments to the user's choice. So when we say idiosyncratic, it talks about somewhat individualizing characteristic or quality, okay? Curiosity, ayan. Diyan din papasok yung another term for idiosyncratic. So we have here the number 5 podcast. It is a digitalized audio files that are stored on the internet and downloaded to listeners' computers or most likely to MP3 or MP3 players. So that this term podcast comes from the iPad, or this iPad is a popular MP3 player. So if you have noticed or if you have seen on these pictures, it shows like what radio broadcasting looks like. Okay. Number 6 is Web 2.0. It refers to the second generation of web-based communities that demonstrate the participatory literacies that students need for the 21st century. So I have here a picture or a comparison showing the Web 1.0 to Web 2.0. Okay, so from here there is a read only, whereas in here read, write, and collaborate. So Web 1.0 web as reading platforms, Web 2.0 web as publishing platform. In the Web 1.0 developer authorship, whereas Web 2.0 public authorship. Web 1.0 individual intelligence, whereas in Web 2.0 collective intelligence. In here software application, whereas in here web as software platform. Commercial and proprietary, whereas in here open source or shared. Here static, whereas in here dynamic. Impersonal, in 2.0 it knows you and your needs. In 1.0 restricted collaboration, in 2.0 collaborative. In 1.0 short tail, in 2.0 long tail. 1.0 official releases, in 2.0 constantly versioning. May mga bagong model at ina-upgrade. 1.0 text-based, 2.0 multimodal. 1.0 HD as storage platform, 2.0 web as storage platform. Kagaya sa Google account natin, na pwede nating magiging storage platform yung Drive. In 1.0 lecture, whereas in 2.0 conversation. Number 7 is MySpace. This is coming from the www.myspace.com, or it is a social networking website that offers an interactive user-submitted network of friends, personal profiles, blogs, groups, photos, music, and videos internationally. So students can rate professors, discuss books, and connect with high schools and college classmates here. So this is an example of MySpace. You can also visit that para ma-explore ninyo kung ano yung mga aspect when it comes to MySpace or using MySpace. Number 8, we have the Second Life. This is the Second Life. If you have noticed, parang may avatar dito. Okay. It is a social networking website that offers an interactive user again. In the Second Life, it is an internet-based 3D virtual world that uses avatars or digital representations to explore social, participate in individual or group activities, to create and trade items virtually and services. So, dito sa Second Life, parang gumagawa siya or ang representation nito is mga 3D na mga avatars. Number 9, semantic web. Semantic web, it is an extension of the current web that puts data into a common format so that instead of humans working with individual search engines, such as, or example is the Google Ask, Jeeves, to create or to locate information, the search engines themselves on its own or themselves feed into a single mechanisms. So sometimes this this semantic web is also what we call 3.0 of this technology, in which it is enabled to integrate virtually all kinds of information for more efficient and comprehensive retrieval. So this is all. This is Web 3.0 all about. It has mini notes, notebook. Ito yung mga pwedeng gagamitin at kung ano yung meron. Okay? And the remote desktop, remote server, database, mobile, and even the personal computer. Number 10 is Webkinz. Webkinz is an internet simulation where children can learn pet care and other skills. So, if you are teaching a primary students or elementary, you can use this you can use this platform. Okay? Kasi mas nagiging interactive yung delivery of the lesson. Tsaka mas na-enjoy ng mga bata. Number 11 is Wiki. Wiki refers to the software that fosters collaborations and communications online. So, Wiki enables students to create, comment upon, and revise collaborative projects. So, one of the most prominent is the Wikipedia. Ito yung pinaka-most prominent na example ng Wikipedia. So, Wikipedia is an online, multilingual, free content encyclopedia. Okay? Which has, itong Wikipedia has actually 7.9 million articles and in 253 language. So, minsan pag nagbibigay kayo ng description, usually ang kinukunan ninyo ng information is galing sa Wikipedia. Okay? But please be careful also kasi sometimes ang Wikipedia pwede niya siyang ma-edit. 12. YouTube. I know you are very, very familiar with this YouTube kasi there are some of you who has a YouTube account. Okay? And many followers. YouTube has a popular website for video sharing where users can upload, view, and share videos footage including movie clips, TV clips, and music videos. Even students produce videos. So, pwede siya na, halimbawa, your teacher will ask you to create a short films about this specific topic, and then, since medyo mabigat yung files na yun, you may upload that on the YouTube and then send the link to your teachers using your email. Okay? So, pwedeng ganun na scenario. Kaya, nagiging useful din ang YouTube. Number 13 is the Google Docs. Okay? So, this is the icons of the Google Docs. Google Docs allows students to collaborate with other peoples and document materials that needs to be compiled, processed, transacted, and analyzed. So, yan yung mga Google Docs documents. 13 is Prezi. For some, this is familiar, but for others, it is not. So, Prezi allows students to use pre-made creative presentation templates. So, in the Prezi, actually, compared to a typical PowerPoint presentation na installed na sa ating mga computer, yung Prezi is more interactive at saka mas maraming template. Okay? And in making Prezi, kailangan naka-access ka sa internet. Kasi pag hindi ka naka-access sa internet, hindi ka rin makakagawa ng presentation mo using this platform. We have also EasyBib. This is an icon of an EasyBib. This is an EasyBib what looks like. So, may mga, ayan, in APA, ayan, format. It allows individuals to generate citation in any given format. Okay? So, ito yung APA format natin. So, pwede siya na, kung gagawa ka ng citation, pwede mong gamitin ito as your tools. We have also the social media platform. So, we have actually a lot of social media platform. So, an example of that is yung, kagaya ng sa atin, most common to us is the Facebook. Ayan, we have Facebook, we have also Twitter. Ayan. So, marami na tayong social media platform, including the Instagram. So, to some, they also have their Edmodo, Schoology. Yung Edmodo is quite similar to Facebook. What makes it differ is, yung Edmodo, ginagamit siya for instruction. Okay? Pwede kasing makatake ng quiz sa mga bata doon. Ayan, makasubmit ng mga activities. So, these social media platforms are meant to or means to communicate and share ideas among users. Okay? So, to communicate and share ideas. So, as what I have said on the course outline, diba, you have to post a relevant information only. Do not post irrelevant. Okay? So, please use your social media account responsibly. Number 17 is Smartboard and Ogen's response system. So, In this platform, these are replacement for traditional chalkboard or whiteboard in classroom. This is an example. Yung flannel board, yun yung example ng isang smartboard. So, ito, mas interactive siya compared sa whiteboard. So, minsan ginagamit din ito ng mga for business, sa company, ayan, yung mga napapanood natin sa mga drama na halimbawa may mga conferencing sila and then they presented an ideas, so using itong mga smart board. Number 18, readwritethink.org. So, this is a readwriting.org na icons. It is a repository of standards-based literacy lessons that offers teachers instructional ideas for internet integration. So, like what is stated here, this is an excellent free source for all readings and writing. So, pwede siya na makakakuha ka rin dito ng mga information, and you can also upload an information. We have here Webquest page. It provides, or Webquest, ito yung Webquest natin. It provides an array of topics across content areas with a template for creating one's own. So, if you try to visit this Webquest, may makikita kayo na shall we say, gumawa yung teacher ng topic. So, meron doong introduction, may mga discussion siya, hanggang doon sa paggawa ng activity, hanggang sa assessment. And then, pinaka-last nun is doon na sa conclusion. Para rin kayong nagle-lecture, pero wala lang yung teacher ninyo na nagdi-discuss. Although, siya yung gumawa. Okay? And the last one is Literacy Web. It is an online portal that includes a large number of new literacies, resources for new literacies for teachers. So, ito yung website or ito yung icons ng Literacy Web. So, yun nga, large number of new literacy and for new literacies for teachers. So, for information and accessing of information. So, to summarize our lesson, in the 21st century education prepares students for life in this world that can make them communicate, functions, and create change personally, socially, economically, and politically on local, national, and global levels. Another is, there is a drastic change brought about the advent of 21st century education in the context of a curriculum, classroom environment, technology learners, and demands of the job market. We have also here, 21st century education implies challenges among teachers in a way they need to embrace technological advancement and instructional innovations. With the paradigm shift from 20th century to 21st century education's transformations and transitions are taking place. Kasi nga may changes eh. To cope with demands of 21st century education, educational institutions should address its 8 critical attributes. And the last one, teacher must be multi-literate, multi-specialist, multi-skilled, self-directed, lifelong learners, flexible, creative problem solver, critical thinker, emotional intelligent, and passionate for excellent teaching. So that's it. This is our reference. So if you have some questions, clarifications, or some concerns, do not hesitate to ask, to raise that, and post your concern in our GC, or pwede naman din through direct message. Okay? So I hope that you really learn in our lessons, and you may apply this in the near future when you become a teacher, or not only becoming a teacher, you as a human. Okay? So